What's going on, people? What's going on? Welcome back to the Root Cause Podcast, where we like to have the hard conversations and where iron sharpens iron. I'm your boy Frankie, and today we got another heater, man. I got a special guest in the building today. Lately, everybody's been remote, but I have a great talent, best-selling author, sister with us in the building. But before we start, let's do our community work, okay? So let's start out with, you know where we're about to go. Let's go with POP. Pivotal Operational Practices. This is a virtual assistant company. This company will allow for you to be the face of your business. You can't be the face of your business if you're worrying about setting up systems. Allow that company to go behind the scenes and do all the administrative work that needs to be done. All right, POP, Pivotal Operational Practice, they have a great price, and they know what they're doing too. We have Marriage Moments with Miguel and Kim. Shout out to my guy Miguel and his wife Kim with Marriage Moments. They come on every week, every Monday. They give you a transparent window into a perspective of marriage. There are episodes in there that's going to make you laugh, that's going to make you cry, the whole shebang. Check them out on all platforms of podcasts. You got DJ Shane. DJ Shane has the Hustle and Motivated movement going on. His conference will take place in beautiful Cancun, Mexico. I can't make it. I hope there's a link to so I can see my guy BJ Page, Miguel Brown, Dr. E, Jose Bennett. Those are all great speakers. They're coming to you with some true heat. Check them out. Hustle and Motivate, August the 21st through the 22nd. Contact DJ Shane for those things there. Last but not least, not last, but we have Milestones and Elevations. Milestones and Elevations Community Development. This company, they focus on the family in this entirety, yo. I always tell this story in reference to my aunt, who was on Section 8 at one point in time. And back in the day, used to have inspections. And this white woman came out and she did an inspection on the home, but my uncle had to leave. And so I found that weird. And he was actually present. He was present for good and for bad, but they were a struggling family. But Milestones and Elevations Community Development, they're there for the entire family, not just the men, not the women, not the kids, but the entire family. They know what it means to have a family intact, what that does for not only a city, a state, but also a country, Hey, and my first project is still out there, Calculated with Love. It has a riveting story of Michelle and Jermaine in there. And also you can go to calculatedwithlove.com to go and grab it. It is my first work. It is I'm gonna say my best work as of right now, but check it out. I'll also be in Philadelphia at the University of Pennsylvania on September the 14th, speaking about my project and much more. Hey, so let's get into it. Like I said, we got a special guest with us today. As you see, hit the frame. Oh, by the way, I got my guy O in the building. He ain't been in the building for a minute behind the boards. He's been at home just giving out orders and asking questions. So today I'm only working just the computer. We have the talented, the beautiful Miss Crystal Brooks. She's here to talk about her new book, When Silence is Misunderstood, yo. Trust me, we're going to get into it. How you doing, Crystal?
I am good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
It's good to see you today.
Good to see you too.
So I've known Crystal for over 10 years. Our kids went to dance school together. Actually, I believe you introduced the dance school to my wife, Toya. Yep. And so we're still there.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still there. They just had a recital. I think it's time to move on. But, we liked it for the moment. Thank you for that.
Of course, absolutely.
So let's get into it. What is your book about? But tell me first, why now? Why write your book now?
So the reason why I wrote my book now, it was time for me to share my story. I would talk about my story all the time, sharing bits and pieces, but to really dig deeper into it and to share it with the world, which is crazy, right? Like telling my business essentially. But I want to help and I wanted to heal people. And so knowing that they're not alone with what they're going through. And so that's why I felt the time to share it was now. I see the young girls suffering a lot as far as, the perfectionism and trying to be perfect for online and living up to the hype of online. And so I wanted to share my journey and just know that regardless of what you've been through, you can overcome. And I don't look like what I've been through. So people are probably
Praise
like, girl,
God.
you ain't go through nothing. But when you read that book,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's a different ball game.
Oh man, yeah, because when I read a clip of it, just knowing the struggle. I mean, your story sounds like it's supposed to be on Stars
Yeah.
or Showtime or something
Yes.
like that. There was a battle of good versus evil.
Yeah.
And you had to maneuver through that at a young age. Go
Yeah.
into that a little bit.
Yep. So my mom was the first Black female police officer on Capitol Hill.
Hey man, give me some
So,
applause on that one there,
shout
man.
out
Give me
to
some
Mom,
applause
man.
on that one, man. Hell yeah, Mom's the first
Yes.
Black.
The first Black. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was a lot of pressure. Think about it. This young Black girl, I think she was 24 when she went up there, and she was the first Black female police officer on Capitol Hill. With all the white men, and she had to wear men's uniform. I think it was a men's locker room because they didn't have, for women essentially. And she had to go through all of that. And then the flip side, my dad was on drugs, crack cocaine. So I was going through that journey, having a mom that's a cop. I didn't know the significance of, who she was at the time. I was, very young, of course.
Yeah.
And then my dad on drugs. And I'm like, how do I navigate this? And
Yeah.
I'll go into that. So at the age of 5, I was sexually abused by a family member.
Okay.
And then in 4th grade, my dad started physically abusing me. And it went from a punch in my face when I was in the refrigerator. And I'm like, what in the world? So that's when the cycle started with me and my dad and him abusing me. So, just imagine being in that world of my mom is a cop, my dad's on drugs. Who do I go to?
Yeah.
Who can I tell? Because I don't want to ruin her career, even though I didn't know who she was essentially at the time, but I was in protection mode at that time. So I protected her.
And when I was reading, I guess what dad was the forklift driver.
Yep.
And so mom had to probably do doubles
Yeah.
and was at work doing holidays
Yeah.
and things like that. So having that that stringent schedule did not afford for her to be home because she had to provide. So
Absolutely.
it left you at home sometime in danger, I guess.
Absolutely. And my brother was there sometimes. So we're 12 years apart.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah.
trying to,
Yeah.
that's a huge age gap if you think about it.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. And so when you say telling the business, telling your how did your family take to you writing this?
So my mom was fine with it. She's like, look, tell your story, share it. So when I started my nonprofit, Love You More Inc., I shared a little bit of my journey, and I've received so many phone calls and emails. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, thank you for sharing. And that was just a snippet. And so for me at that time, I cared about what people thought, right? And so now I'm in a space of, I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm going to share my story, family or not, because the problem is in our community, we don't share.
Yeah.
Everything is a secret. And so the kids and everybody else is living in the dark. And it's like, tell your truth, tell your story, because you can help somebody else.
Yo, that is so true. I went back and tried to do a good bit of my family tree. And them older folks, just like some of the younger folks now, they did some wild stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
And so if some kids weren't granddad's kids and some kids weren't grandma's kids and things like that. And it's like, okay, well, nobody told us this. Nobody told us, the truth or told us, even the dark sides of what happened in our family.
Right.
But here you actually get into it though.
Yes.
Wow. And so how has that relationship that you had with your father affected you in just relationship period and also relationship with men?
Yeah. So because I never experienced true love at that time growing up, I was in search. I was in need of love. And I'm like, okay, what does that look like? But for me, love was pain. So if somebody brought me pain, I'm like, yes, they love me, because that's what I knew. That's what I knew love to be. And so in relationships and things that I went through, I attracted pain, but I also tried to fix the men that I was with or the boys, right? So I was in a space of, hey, okay, so he's not perfect, but what can I do? So I would try to work on things about myself to be better, to be perfect for this person, to love me how I should be loved.
Yeah.
And then they turn out, to hurt me.
Right.
And I'm like, well, what is it about me? So I had this sense of perfectionism of, let me see how I can be better. So if I fix this about me, will my dad stop hitting me? Will the men start loving me? Will they stop cheating on me? So for me, I chose the wrong people because I was in search for love. But again, I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what healthy looked like because it wasn't a healthy household.
Yeah, yeah. I know in my book I quote Christian Demertes that states that relationship is like a mirror. And so, you attract exactly who you are. And so if you're hurt, you're kind of bringing that hurt towards you.
Absolutely.
And so for how long did that happen?
Oh God. Pretty much all my life. Even in my first marriage, even though I didn't know. So I always said I would never date a person like my dad. And not saying he wasn't abusive, but some of the characteristics were like my dad. But I was trying to fix him because I couldn't fix my dad. So I'm gonna fix anybody that I could. And so I attracted all kinds of people.
The fixer.
I was the fixer. Even in friendships, I was a fixer.
And so, but where did the fixer come from? Was that mom or was that?
So I think it was from my mom because she was the, peacemaker, always trying to bring everybody together. And for me, because I wanted peace and I wanted to see, okay, how can I fix this person? So what can I do to make sure they're better? So I always made sure everybody was better, but I forgot about myself. So I'm pouring from a cup. And my cup was empty. And I didn't even know about the cup phrase, when I was younger. But pouring from that cup and just trying to fix people and making sure they're okay. And then I found myself like, what's going on with me? Why am I sad? Why am I down? But I had given so much to other people that I forgot about myself.
Yeah. That forgetting about yourself is tough. You can get lost in relationships.
Absolutely.
So many times, like my wife always says, yeah, we're gonna be empty nesters. I can't wait. We're gonna start doing this when they leave. Like, no, don't do that. Let's start now because when they leave, then we'll be looking at each other stupid.
Yeah.
It's like, so where do we start? Because we lost ourselves in relationship just with our children. Like we were just parents. No, we got to be couples now. We got to be friends now. You can just lose yourself just in an intimate relationship, just always studying and worrying about what that other person is doing. So when that other person leaves, it's like, okay, where am I?
Yep.
And what am I to do? So it's almost like you're starting over.
Absolutely. I say that all the time too. Like women, I know men do too, but we tend to find our happiness in other people, right? And it's like, oh, okay, I'm happy with my husband or my kids. But then when they're gone, where's your happiness? It's gone with them. So now you're trying to figure yourself out and you have no clue who you are and what you are.
Yeah.
So we definitely do that work and go deeper into that.
When did you have the conversation with your moms that this was taking place at the crib? Because like she was, a police officer.
Yeah. So I didn't tell her. I didn't tell her what my dad was doing. Like she caught it maybe a couple of times, but it could have just been, her thinking, hey, the regular discipline that you do to your child, right? Like, but she didn't know in depth how it was and how deep it was. Like I remember one time sleeping in her room. My dad was sleeping downstairs, and I heard him come up the steps, and I opened my eye like this, and he came and just started punching me in the face. And I'm like, okay, he don't have his drugs, Lord Jesus. So, I had to take that, but I didn't tell her about those experiences. And I told her about me being sexually abused after my dad died, which was, I think I was 21.
Okay, you were grown.
I was grown. I never told her. So it was a lot of things that I kept from her, but I always wanted to protect her. There I go again in protection mode, not wanting to hurt her. But as far as like the biggest fight me and my dad had, and it's actually in the book as well. I was about to graduate and I ain't gonna give too much, but just know I had to fight for my life to get up out that house. And that was the first time I actually fought him back when I was 17.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So yo, I'm in a loss for words, yo. I'm in a loss because when I look at you, when I've always looked at you, I saw a strong, empowered woman. And so, I mean, you guys really can't see, but she's not a short lady, yo.
I'm not, yo. 5'11".
Islam. I mean, talk about this is something. She's not just a walk in the park. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, but you had to fight for your life from your own pops, yo, and that must have been something, yo. And so I know all about the fatherhood and drugs. And my father also battled with the addiction of crack cocaine and alcohol, and so I noticed a huge change when he didn't have his stuff, right?
Yeah.
But also I noticed how in depth and how extreme he would be when he was high and drunk. And so he was a lot more violent on the other side.
Okay.
So when he was high and drunk, he was like okay, he was fighting friends, fighting me, fighting everybody, you know, and it's like, but with your pops, it was the opposite.
It was
like,
the opposite.
okay, his frustration was, look, I need my
He
fix.
need his fix. Yeah. And so we were good when he was high. Like we had a good time. My dad was a jokester. That's the thing. It was like that balance of, okay, you crazy, but then you also are cool.
Yeah.
And again, he had corny jokes, and I will say he was a good guy. But then, you know, as you get older, I would never give him an excuse for doing what he did to me, right? But as we get older, we know how life is and how things happen.
Man.
It's like, okay, well, what else was he battling? Like, did he battle depression? Did he have other things going on where he didn't know how to, you know, go get therapy? Again, Black community, we don't get therapy, and especially older people, they don't do that.
Right.
So I'm sure he had a lot going on. And I had to go through the journey of forgiving him through that. But of course, when you're going through, you're like, don't you put your hands on me. You should never treat anybody that way. But when you get older and you start going through your own crap,
Man,
you be like, okay, hold on.
That's the one thing that released me from the burden of holding a grudge against my father was when I became a grown man.
Yeah.
And I saw the struggles of life and just being a grown Black man. And it's like, yo, okay, I get it. It's just that my habits were something else.
Right.
And you chose that. Your coping mechanism was the drugs and that. Mine's may have been sports or gambling or whatever the case is, but I had my own fix.
Absolutely.
And so talk about that forgiving process. Like,
Ooh, you see how I close my eyes, right?
man, when did that start, and are you still forgiving?
So the forgiveness process for my dad started when he had a stroke before he passed away. I didn't try to forgive him before. I mean, when I got married the first time, I let him walk me down the aisle. You know, I wanted to do those things, right? But I still didn't forgive him. I was still like, no, but I wanted the father, you know, experience.
Right.
But when he had a stroke, and again, I go in that into the book, but he was in the hospital. And I just always kept saying to him, Dad, I forgive you, because I did not want him to pass away and me not forgiving him.
Right.
And I didn't want that burden on me because the unspoken words. And let's see. So he went in the hospital in June. He passed July the 5th. And I made sure every time I went to see him, I'm like, I forgive you. I forgive you. I understand. I forgive you. Not that I understood in that sense, but just I needed to release that. Because if I held on to that anger and that hurt, I would be in a different space. And so I had to start that healing process. But the forgiveness is not about, it's not about the other person.
Right.
It's about you and not holding on to that. Because when you don't forgive somebody, what happens? You start to get sick. They live in your mind rent free. Why?
Right.
So I will never tell anybody to forget, but start the process of forgiving. So, you know, telling that person, even if you don't see them in person, let's say it's somebody else, write a letter, just get it out of your system and really start that process of forgiveness. Again, it's for you, not for them.
So write a letter and give it to them, or just write a letter and hold it somewhere?
It depends. If you feel comfortable to write that letter and send to them, they may not read it, but you got it out. If you want to write it, cut it up, burn it, whatever, but at least get it out of your system. That way you're not holding on to that. So I'm huge on writing, huge on getting things out. And so my biggest thing is write it out, release it, let it go. Now start the healing process. Because once you forgive, you have to heal. Yeah. And that's a whole different journey.
And so was that of June of this year?
Well, my dad, no, he died in 2006.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
so it's been a while. It's been a while. Okay. And so how have you been since then, since you felt like you released all that there and moving forward, you kind of like, okay, I'm good?
Yeah, I definitely released it then. It took some time after that. And there's a whole lot of other things that happened after that I had to battle through that. So my dad passed. My husband at that time had cheated. So my dad passed away in July. The cheating started, I found out in December of 2006. And it was a lot of things that happened. But during that time, I was made to feel like I was crazy, that he wasn't cheating, that no one called me, that no one said these things. So I'm battling, trying to hold on to a marriage, trying to process my dad passing away. We have a 1-year-old daughter at the time too. So it was so many things that I was battling. And my ex-husband was dealing with mental issues as well. Okay. So it was a lot of moving pieces. Yeah. Yeah.
So speak about the mental, and how do you feel about, everybody's talking about that now. Everybody's talking about being healthy mentally. What is your stance on that?
Mental health is very, very important. I was talking about this before it became popular. When I started Love You More Inc., I was like, look, these girls need it. We have to, do something to pour love into them and teach them that self-love. And I feel like when it comes to your mental health, it should be the same thing as going to the doctor, right? You go to your doctor to get your checkups, you go get your nails done, your hair done, self-care. I think mental health should be your regular practice. You have to, because I felt myself losing myself. Literally, I felt my mind going.
Right.
And I'm like, dang, is this what it feels like when you start to lose your mind? So making sure that you actually take those steps and go to therapy, get a life coach, whatever you need to do. So I am a life coach as well, but if I know somebody needs therapy, we can do life coaching and you go to therapy.
Yeah.
It's a combination, but you have to take care of yourself.
There we go. It's like physical training. You gotta
You have
train
to.
your mind too.
Absolutely.
And so, how does a support system for someone who's having a mental breakdown or feel like they're going crazy? How are there? Is there training that they need? How should they? Because I've been in situations where I've been around folks where I believe they were having a mental breakdown. Sometimes I don't know what to say or what to do.
Yeah.
I just know to be present.
Right.
And so often we try to be the fixers, but I don't know how. It's like, and men, and as a man, we want to fix everything,
Right.
but some things we just can't.
You just can't fix, but it has to be up to that person to even tell you. Some people won't even tell you that they're going through a mental breakdown. They will smile all day, hey, good morning, and be home crying.
Yeah.
That was me. Nobody knew what I was going through. I mean, not, unless I told them a little bit, but not like that, those deep, dark things that I was going through and feeling. I didn't share that with people.
Gotcha.
So I think the biggest thing is to still be there. Let's say, if it's a phone call that didn't happen, you ain't text me back. Listen, maybe your friend going through something. Don't be so hard on that friend. Just check on them and see what's going on, and just try to be that lending ear if they decide to talk to you. But if you're friends long enough, you can pick up on those signs too, right? So don't ignore the signs. Try to take them out. Try to just pour into them and encourage them and see what happens. But it's tough if the person doesn't talk.
Right.
But you try to, see the signs. But again, we know how things are now, where people put on the front that they're okay, and then they're dead the next day. And it's like, well, what happened? So yeah.
So I had a friend, a really close friend of mine, who committed suicide maybe two years ago, and he did it at work, and we worked together.
Wow.
And so, but he confided in me, and I didn't follow up.
Okay.
And so I believe that the follow up should be very important too.
Yeah.
That even when a person tells you, hey, this is what's happening. I mean, and trust me, I cared, and my plans were to, hey, get back to him. But it was like we had so much going on, and it was like I didn't follow up, and it's like, okay, damn, now this has happened.
Right.
What could I have done? A little, what could I said?
Yeah.
Because he told me something. He told me something that obviously I took serious, but it was like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Right. Right. So for you, don't blame yourself. If you did blame yourself, don't do that, because it was bigger than you. Yes, he confided in you. Yes, you could have said something, but you didn't know what to do in that moment. So I would say take that pressure off of yourself, because that wasn't your fault. I'm sure he had other family that, saw things that could have stepped in as well. So it does take a village. It takes everybody to step in, but I just want to say, don't put that on yourself.
Wow. And forgiveness coach. That's the first time that I've heard that term, forgiveness coach. I think that's necessary one, because a lot of people walk around with grudges.
Yeah.
Not just in intimate relationship, but business too.
Yeah.
A lot of businesses break up, and a lot of families break up because we have a hard time forgiving one another. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think that a lot of people are often done wrong, right? And so they don't know, or they don't want to forgive, because it happens to me. I'm sure it happens to you. People do you wrong. But are we going to spend our energy to be so upset with that person, where, again, they're living rent free in your head? They not thinking about you because you holding on. You did this to me. Forgive them. Yeah. Move on. Again, I never say forget, but you can forgive, because it's so much more on the other side. So many things happened to me within the last year. If I was to hold on to the grudges of things that people did to me, I would not be where I am today.
There we go.
So what I chose to do is forgive, move on, trust God, because God told me He had me, and that's what I did.
There we go.
Yep.
I also find that that victimhood mentality can be a little empowering initially, but you can't sustain it.
No,
not for a long period of time. Initially, it's like, they did me wrong, and it's empowering. It's like, okay, well, you're the blame, but you got to learn to focus. What I believe, that everybody is a co-creator of their own experiences, and so, granted, they may have done you wrong, but look at self.
Yep.
And what did you do to put yourself in that predicament? And sometimes, like you were a child when certain things were done to you. Absolutely. There was nothing that you could have done to outside of maybe tell mom a little earlier, but there was nothing that you could have done to put yourself in a different predicament. What do you say for parents that have children but don't know that something's going on with their child, what signs should they be looking at? What
Oh,
should they be
that's a big one.
checking for? Like,
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
so because I have an 18-year-old
Mhm.
son, man, he's still on my cell phone plan. Brother, we have cell phone chat.
Listen.
Because I mean, in this day and age, I can't protect you if I don't know what's going on.
hmm
And it may be overkill, but it is what it is.
So I was definitely called the overkill mom.
Okay.
I have a almost 17-year-old, I have a 12-year-old, and I have a almost 4-year-old. And with my oldest, the things that we went through, I was the mom that was checking her phone when she, 12, 13. There were things going on where I saw a difference in her. And I'm like, what's going on? But I'm also heightened because of all the trauma that I went through. So I can pick up on things so easily with people. And I'm like, okay, something happened. Grab her phone. I'm like, what's going on? And I'm not gonna tell your business, Michaela, if you watching. But for parents, pick up on the clues. You know your child. You know if their attitude is off. You know if they're on their phone, they threw it down, something happened. You know if her and her friend got into it. You can tell the difference in their body language, their face. Even if a trauma happened, they may not share it with you, but you know your child. And don't be afraid to check that phone. They don't pay no bills.
That's right.
They're not paying it. And so when I had an interview like many years ago when I first started Love You More, and the question was brought up about checking your kid's phone, I was the only one in the interview who was like, no, I check my child's phone.
Yeah.
They're like, why? They need privacy. No. Because you can stop a lot of things. I mean, of course, you can't stop everything, but a lot of things you can kind of address. You can talk to them about. We didn't have social media growing up.
No.
If we had social media growing up,
oh yeah,
we would be in trouble.
Oh yes, for sure.
But it's so many things they are exposed to so early on. And I think that as a parent, it's okay to do a spot check. It's okay to check in with your kids. Will your kids tell you everything? Heck no, they won't. But being there and having those real conversations. Again, some kids are receptive, some are not. My oldest is still trying to be receptive of things that I say. Her friends receive me, right? But of course, the parent is the parent. They're not going to listen to you. Let's just Did I listen to my mom? No, not at that time. But as I got older, I'm like, Mom, okay, yeah. All right, I see what you're saying. But parents, don't be afraid to check on your kids. Don't be afraid to check their phone because there's a lot of stuff in their phone.
Right.
And I mean a lot.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
And I mean a lot of hidden things. Y'all see my face. But it's okay to check it and don't be afraid. If they get mad, so what?
Yeah.
Because you care about them. There are a lot of parents that don't check. There are a lot of parents that let their kids do whatever. And those kids are now suffering.
Yes.
Those kids are now drinking, smoking, having sex, doing all kinds of things because the parent is like, oh, they'll be okay.
Yeah.
No, check on them. They need that.
So silence, misunderstood. We get that often miscommunicated with. That's just being a teenager.
Yeah.
They just quiet, got their hoodies on, but silence being misunderstood. What is that about?
So my silence was just people thought I was quiet, I was okay, but I'm telling you, I went to school, I was happy-go-lucky, I was just acting like everything was okay. So my silence as far as not sharing things that was going on or me pretending or me being this perfectionist and, trying to make sure that school was my safe space because at home it really wasn't. My room, I tried to make my safe space, but then, certain things happen and I'm like, okay, well, it's on the face today. Hey, y'all, so I'm going to school. But then, that kind of worked in elementary. And then as I got to middle school, I was looking and searching just for all the wrong things and people. High school, looking for all the wrong things and people. And I was finding that in them, but I was still silent on certain fronts.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I was popular in school, but I had a lot of male friends, right?
Gotcha.
And, being a football manager, basketball manager, all that fun stuff, like I enjoyed that stuff, but I wanted to always be out. I had a job, I didn't want to go home.
Gotcha.
So I made sure that I was busy. But the silence part, again, nobody knew. I don't think anybody, I think one friend who was there, she knew what was going on. But that's it. I never went into it. I just played it off, played along. I had a lot of friends. But it wasn't some friendships weren't healthy. Some were. But I think I just always wanted to have people around and like, hey, y'all, how y'all doing? Okay, y'all love me today. But it was a lot. It was a lot that I went through.
Yeah, that's a sign, man. I mean, I know grown men, stuff not right at the house. They dive into work.
Absolutely.
You see them sitting they take the long way home.
Yes.
They sit in their car, just all of those things,
Yeah.
So wow, silence needs to really be paid attention to. It's just because they don't have anything to say doesn't mean that
Yeah,
things aren't going well with them at all.
absolutely.
Let's talk about the process of you writing. Okay. And so what I have noticed is this. I am still perfecting my first book and
Mhm.
I'm working on my second one. But whatever you're putting out there to the universe, to God, to the community, I feel like God challenges you when it comes to that. If you want to talk about finances, your finances are going to be challenged.
Mhm.
If you want to talk about relationship, that's going to be challenged.
Yep.
What were some of the challenges that you encountered with in your process of writing the book?
Um, it's funny you asked me that question. So the challenges that I went through, I left my full-time job in December.
Yeah,
Okay.
entrepreneurship.
I'm like, okay, God, well, the title of the book is here.
Mhm,
Like, find an abundance. And
mhm,
abundance doesn't have to be money.
mhm.
Then I was supposed to do something else where I would have had a full-time income. And then God was like, nope, taking that too. And I said, okay, hold on. Wait a minute, Jesus.
Mhm,
How you taking this? You said I'm gonna have to have abundance
mhm,
and you stripping me of everything.
mhm.
But what happened is I gave God my full yes. And so when you give God your full yes, he's gonna strip some things from you that you do not need to go with you in your next season.
Gotcha.
And so that writing process, I had to, if I didn't have those things happen, just the later half, the book probably would have just been about the first half of my life.
Gotcha.
Right.
Right.
And so by me going through things that I went through, within the last year, almost year, I had more content to write. And then I had to literally, I'm still relying on God.
Yeah.
And so now I'm showing that, hey, when you give God your full yes, he's going to take some things away, but just continue to trust him, continue to trust the process, continue to know that God has you, he has you covered. And so I talk about that some in the book and just really releasing that. And I think that added another layer onto, outside of the things that I went through before. But also I want to make note that this book isn't just about me,
Gotcha.
right? I want to make sure that the people that purchase the book knows that I'm coaching you through the process as well. I'm not just sharing my woe is me. No, I'm gonna share and I'm gonna ask you some questions.
There we go.
I need you to actually do some work too because you have to heal. I've healed through my stuff. I need y'all to start healing. And so we have to start that process. Now, the later part of things, again, I'm still going through, I'm still in the abundance. But for me, abundance is peace, joy, and happiness.
Amen. Amen.
If nobody brings me that, gotta go.
There we go.
I will cut you off so quick because I have been through too much to not have peace, to not have joy, to not have happiness. And so if somebody comes in to disrupt that, I know how to recognize it and roll out.
Yeah.
But I'm still going through.
There we go.
Life does not stop. Life still happens, but you have to keep going. You have to continue to trust God.
You said a lot right there, and a lot of stuff that I'll put on a t-shirt. Cool. Yeah. I will say this. For those that are listening, a lot of folks look at social media and they look at what people are doing. They look at the end goal and they say, "Well, I want to do that too." I would beg to differ because of the process. So many people want to be like someone else, and it's like, okay, do you really want to experience what they experience? Because their story is now being told for you.
Yep.
It's been told to help you out and help others out, and they may have had to experience tremendous downfall, and it sounds like you made it up out of that. Are you ever truly healed? Though? Are you ever truly healed of that trauma and things of that nature?
If you do the work, you can be. I mean, things will come up, triggers will happen,
Okay.
but you have to deal with those triggers. And so if you don't deal with the triggers, they're going to keep coming up. And then one day it's going to keep coming and coming. Like, why am I going through the same thing? What did I not get? So the biggest thing that I teach people is let's identify your triggers and then we can deal with that. So now when it comes back up, you don't have that same emotion behind it, right? So when you're healing, it's always a process, always a journey. Like, I think healing takes time.
Gotcha.
People say, well, you may be healed in a year or two. No, if it takes you 10 years to heal, that's okay. But I say enjoy that journey of healing. It's a process. And once you see, when you do the work, the other side is amazing. But you have to enjoy that process because what if you didn't go through that, right?
Right.
Now you can help somebody else. So for me, people say, oh, they may look at me now and say, you're doing so much. I'm like, do y'all really want to switch shoes?
Right.
Because if you had to take one step in my shoes, you'd be like, here you go, take it back.
Yep.
No, thank you.
Yep.
So I never say I want to be like somebody because you don't know what they went through to get to where they are. And what may look like an overnight success has taken a very, very long time. I had to go through so many, disappointments, heartache. And again, having my trauma started at the age of 5. I'm 39.
Man, you was in life slow cooker.
Yeah.
Man.
Okay. So, it's like, oh, you're doing it. No. Mine started at 5.
There we go.
5 years old. And so now I'm sharing that and getting it out. And I'm not ashamed of my story. Somebody did ask me, are you going to be nervous or ashamed? For what?
Yeah.
Nobody can hold anything over my head. I'm telling my story.
There we go. There we go. I want to get back to with all the male disappointment that you've had to, go through. How did you still keep the spirit to find love?
I wanted to just be an old lady with cats. Okay. I did not want to go through it anymore, but I knew that love was out there. I knew that it was real, but I had to heal myself. And if I wasn't healed, I'm going to attract unhealed people. But what I do, because I'm the fixer, I'm healing those people and then they will leave. And so for me, actually, I didn't find my new husband. Somebody set us up, but I was done.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to date anybody. Forget this. I'm over men. I would just be an old lady with cats. I was cool. And he came along and I'm like, who are you? I don't know you. Like literally, I had that attitude, but he showed me something different. He showed me that there are still good men. There are people that haven't cheated. There are people that care, that love you. And that was new for me.
Yeah.
Because, and I talk about this in the book, when I was a teenager, there was somebody that like loved me. Okay. And I didn't know what love was. So I'm like, no, you love me. No, you don't. No, thank you. I don't want you. I didn't know what healthy looked like.
Gotcha.
So that was my first time having healthy. So when it came back around, when I got married again, I'm like, okay, I recognize this. I know what this is. I know what to do with that because I was healed. I went through that process. So I would never give up on, even though I had my moments of giving up on men, but I think it's important to know that every man is not the same.
Right.
And that a lot of people are dealing with all kinds of things. If that man went through trauma, saw things, and, have a certain background, again, you got to think we were teenagers, we were young. Who really being faithful? You a teenager. Yeah. Let's be real, right?
Right.
But I was trying to be grown and I wanted these boys to be grown. And that's not how life works. And I'm not saying every boy is going to cheat, all of that, but all men are not the same. And there is love, but you have to do the work within yourself and don't try to change them. Yeah. Work on yourself.
Shout out to the current husband, man, for showing you that all men aren't the same and love is still real, because love is very much real.
It is.
And I choose love over life.
Yeah.
Because I believe if you don't have love, you don't get life. And so shout out to your husband and your family. Let's get into entrepreneurship. You were a company woman at one point in time, corporate, and what I remember of Crystal is you were around the who's is who. It takes a lot to step away from that, a consistent pay, consistent everything, and being around folks that could possibly throw you into another atmosphere that you want to be in.
Yeah.
Instead, you chose to go the route that God told you to go.
Yeah.
How hard is that?
Oh my God. It was the hardest decision ever. I had to do a fast to make sure, right? Because we hear things on our own, like, okay, is this me telling me to leave or is it God telling me to leave? And so I did a fast. I think it was like August, September. And it was a week long. And I said, okay, God, if you want me to walk away, I need you to tell me very clear.
Yeah.
Y'all, every day, it was very clear. And I'm like, but God, I've been here almost 13 years. And so you're telling me to leave my full-time income, my insurance, which was amazing.
Right.
Okay. Yes, I have a husband, but I'm still independent in that sense of I have my own money coming in. And so I'm like, okay, God, what am I going to do? And so I said, okay, I'm gonna trust you. And I kept hearing it clear. He's like, just trust me. I got you. And I'm like, okay. So I'm going to focus on the nonprofit full time. So cool. So, I left in December. And like I said, I was supposed to do something else. And I had got sick in January. And then some things that happened. And then everything was just revealed to me. I did another fast and God revealed again. And I'm like, but God, you said that I will be doing this. And he said, no, you said you would be doing that. I didn't tell you was going to be doing that. And I'm like, well, dang. Let me clean out my ears because I swear I thought you told me that. But during that process, I started another business called Love You More Legacy. So that's the coaching business.
Gotcha.
So while I have Love You More Inc., the nonprofit, I have Love You More Legacy Coaching. And now it's time to build that legacy. So the Inc. side of things are the teenagers. Yes, we have the women, that we help as well. But Love You More Legacy is a different ball game. So I'm really going deeper with the women. We're really doing that work. And that is another baby of mine. Yeah. So entrepreneurship life, it's not easy.
Yeah. No.
Like, don't let nobody, all this online, they telling you, I've always been entrepreneur-ish. That's one of my friends' thing, but where, you still have your full-time job, but you're still building something else because you need to have multiple streams of income coming in. But for me to go from, guaranteed to how you gonna eat, what we doing?
That's where I am. Now my wife, she eats out in the street. I mean, it's full-time entrepreneurship. This is what she does. I still have a foot in corporate America and a foot in entrepreneurship and many different businesses. So I still when those hard days come and those days of depression come, my view is still a little more clouded because I still have a foot in.
Right.
Speak to that part about that piece of, those dark days of being an entrepreneur.
I would say continue to trust in God. You're gonna have those moments. You're gonna cry. You're gonna look at your account like, Lord, the bills are due. What is happening? What are we doing? But knowing that it is for a purpose. If you truly listen to God when He told you to move, He is always going to protect you and cover you. It's going to look crazy. You're going to be out here grinding, pushing, but keep going, because I promise there are things on the other side. There's more things that are going to come. But this is when God does test you and test your faith, right? And my conversation with God, I'm like, hey, bro, hold on. What we doing? Because this account keep going tick, tick, tick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need you to show me. And so He'll give me a little glimpse of like, okay, here, girl.
Yeah.
You're going to trust me. I got you. And so those things are starting to happen. But when you're in it, it's like, it's easy to turn around and go back and get another job. But if you want that freedom, and if you're doing what God told you to do, keep going. Because just think, if let's say freedom is right here and you're right here, then what we doing? You turned around, but you were right there.
Right there at it.
So keep going, because I'm telling you, it's there. And that's where I feel I am. It's like, it's right there. Just keep going.
How much has your surroundings of your friends and played a part of your success and also your ability to say, you know what, I am going to trust God?
Yeah. Some friends thought I was crazy. They're like, girl, you leaving your full time. What you going to do? What we doing? But what's funny is God has brought so many new people in my life.
Amen.
That have poured into me, that encourage me, and like, no, we got this. Let's go. What we about to do? Like providing resources, connecting me with people. And I'm like, we pray together. And these are things that I may not have had, just at a full, like, these are genuine women that are around me that are like, here's a resource. Oh, I got you. You need help with this? It was no, competition. It's just straight up, God has placed the right people around where the right connections happen, where things are moving how they should have moved. And I'm thankful for that. And there's nothing wrong with having new people come into your life. Of course, you use discernment, but the people that are in my life right now, there's one person I reconnected with. We've been friends 20 years, but, off and on, because life happens. And we reconnected in August. And she was also another big part of why I moved. We had those conversations. She's like, what did God tell you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know. She said, stop saying but. What did God tell you?
There you go.
And so you need those people around you that are not afraid, that are going to push you too. If you have everybody around that's just yes people, or just and it's nothing wrong with having a 9 to 5. But if they're not on that same journey, you have to be around somebody that has that same drive and goal as you, so you can grow.
That's right.
You always have to be surrounded by new people that can help you go to another level. You don't have to leave the people that are behind you. But if you want to grow, you have to be with somebody that's already an entrepreneur, that's already making it, that has connections, where you can grow as a person and as a business.
We grew up with toxic music and a toxic mind frame. No new friends, no new friends. Slim, that is the biggest bunch of crap I have ever experienced. Within the last 4 years, I've met so many joints, so many ventures, and met so many cool folks that have put me in different rooms and put more money in my pocket and showed me a whole new way of life. I thank God for that, yo. So it's important to keep your eyes and your heart open to receive others, yo.
Absolutely. You do. Yeah. And I know it can be scary because you're used to your certain people, but it definitely is okay to know there are people that want to see you do well and that will put you, like you say, in places you never thought of. Like technically I'm not qualified for a lot of things that I do, but God is like, yes, you are. I got you. I didn't go to college. I went to Dudley Beauty College. Shout out to them.
There we go. There we go.
But I was always told you will never make more than this. You won't. You're not good at being interviewed. Like you're not a good speaker. I got all of these things said about me. Yeah, here I am. Yeah, I'm doing so many things. That I'm coaching women. I'm coaching teen girls. Like I'm in the community. I'm doing so many things. So another thing I like to say, forget they. What are they saying?
Yes. Forget
them. Yeah. They don't pay your bills. Again, we listening to listening to God.
There we go.
Did God tell you something, or did they tell you something?
There we
Because
go.
they still trying to figure their lives out,
Yeah.
while God has a different plan for you.
So faith has played a huge thing when it comes to your success.
Yeah.
It's been big in your life. Who gave you that? Who gave you faith?
So my mom. My mom.
Shout out to moms.
Yes, yes, mom. She heavy in the church, regardless of what was going on. My mom was in that church, okay, and I was in church too.
Okay.
Now church can be a little tricky. I'll talk about that in a little too, but I always knew that there was something bigger. Even when I was going through, even when I questioned God, and y'all, it is okay to question God. You can. It's in the Bible. You can question Him.
Yes.
So the people that be talking about you can't question God, yes, you can.
Yeah,
He wants you to. You can have a conversation. You don't have to be he, there, thou, right?
Yeah.
But just have that conversation with Him. So my mom definitely instilled that in me because, again, old school church is a thing, and you see what God is doing. I don't know the Bible back and front, like that's not. I would never claim that. I know some scriptures. I know things that will help me. But I think the biggest thing is just having the relationship with God, not with church, but with God.
But with God. I believe that the biggest signal of intellect is questioning. And growing up, church taught us don't question. Don't question. That was a bunch of crap to me. Crystal, I appreciate everything, man. By the way, she signed my book. This is my book, y'all. She signed my book. I also have, which is very important. And my wife turned me on to that. She has one too. It's inside of a necklace. It's a mustard seed. And I know that you actually have Matthew 17, verse 20 about faith of a mustard seed. And your faith seems to be huge.
Yes.
It seems to be huge. Another strong Black sister out here. We was talking about faith, but I'm gonna say kicking ass.
Yes.
She out here kicking ass.
I do cuss a little bit.
Ain't nothing wrong with a little cussing. Ain't nothing wrong with my little boy love a good cusser. But how can people find you? How can people support? What's next for Crystal Brooks?
All right. So you can support by going to hey y'all. So you can support by going to loveyoumoreinc.com. That is a nonprofit. And then for my coaching business, it's lymlegacy.com. That is to get your consultation for the coaching. What is next for me is I have my big coaching program coming up in September. It's going to be a 12-week program. And so it is called Heal the Voice of Perfectionism. So we're going to really tap into that voice and that negative, voice of trying to be perfect for everybody. And what happens is when you're trying to be perfect for everybody else, you are disappointed, right? Because you feel like they don't see that you are being perfect. You're doing all this work for them, but what about yourself? So we're really going to tap into that over the next 12 weeks. So find me on there, social media. I am Crystal Brooks. I'm everywhere.
And you can find that in the lower third of the screen. Yeah. So check that out. Hey, Crystal, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming from wherever you came from to be with us on today. I appreciate the content. I appreciate the book. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you for having me. Thank you.
And we want to have you back. Send me that information so we can continue to promote what you got going on every single week.
Absolutely.
Here on the Root Cause Podcast, where we have the hard conversations and where iron sharpens iron. You are the first woman that we've had in some time.
Hey.
So to have this feminine energy in the building is a blessing. We're going to do it a lot more often. Yes. Crystal, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me. Thanks, y'all.
Oh, we out of here, baby.